Smokehouse, you did such a better breakdown, but we're heading into round 3, Native White versus Levitation, and look at the seeding on this matchup. We're kind of getting spoiled with a tight, hypothetically type series. Number 14 for Native White, number 19 Levitation.
Yeah, one of the closest disparities that we'll have in seeding, and one of the most likely opportunities for an upset here against Native White. The question will be answered here. Did Native White fall short of where they should be yesterday, or is that what we should expect from Native White the rest of the way? This series will help determine that. Levitation, nothing to scoff at. Its name, Flurriously, Facty, Sylvanic. These are guys that have upset and dethroned some of the top teams and top players in their day. So despite having that 19 seed, don't be surprised if they upset Native White right here.
We'll keep our eyes peeled for upset potential. We had so many upsets over the weekend. Do we start off on this Monday with another? Not if Mikwen has anything to say with it. He hits the target with that plasma grenade, active camo, and shock rifle, seemingly controlling every utility. A little bit of, there's always a weird observer glitch on the grapple. He did grapple that oddball, drops it back off as the push comes through. Its name finds a double kill.
A little early, though, on that oddball grab for Mikwen. Like the thought process there, grappling the oddball to him, but he had pressure from behind, pushing through those gold pipes, and now Sylvanic and company still maintain that power positioning. Oddball time racking up for its name. A good start here by Levitation as Flurriously looks to anchor top A elevator here. Looks like he doesn't have anyone pushing for him from the top. Instead, they're going to come from the low ground. Flurriously dropping as he drops as well, and it's all 4 down for Levitation. A chance here for Native White to bounce back.
And it's crazy to me that you say a chance for them to bounce back, because Native White had camo. They had the first shock rifle, but surprisingly weren't able to get any objective time off of that powerful utility. So now they had to go back to slaying, and now we see them finally getting a chunk of time, but not as early on, I think, as I would have expected in the round.
And I noticed SSG do a great job of that yesterday. Stellar, Penguin, sometimes walking away, making it their way out of danger, despite not having numbers with that oddball, sneaking away, milking out that precious time. So looking to see maybe a little bit more of that strategy develop between these two teams as Barcode looks to lock down blue, but he's got all 4, 3 now at elevator. Flurriously on the flank with that plasma pistol. The shots should lead to an assist here as we see the assist go down. Now it's going to push the emphasis here for Native White. The green light is on, the flag is down, and so too are all 4 from Levitation. Another all 4 down. Native White seemingly just needs to capture and maximize here the slays that they're getting.
Great round of slays there, and tapping buttons surprisingly with the camo, grabs the oddball, climbs up to the high ground. I thought he was going to pass it off to someone else, but he's locking down the objective. Mikwen does go down, but so does Flurriously on the other side. So a little bit of a 3v3 happening here, old school basketball style. Gilkey rotating to top glass. Facty is right around the corner. Now Gilkey's looking across the map. Here comes that push. That he didn't quite check. He didn't quite catch Facty in the corner, but luckily there was some team fire in order to get the takedown. Ball's been played out to middle. This is a scrappy fight.
Yeah, Gilkey did a great job there pulling his opponent back into his waiting teammates, but Levitation doing a great job to get the trade out there on Gilkey as this one's now back and forth. 7 seconds separating these two teams, and another 3. Will it be 4 down? No. Facty stops the bleeding, taking down tapping buttons. A pivotal early on in this game.
Talking about Team Levitation, it looked a little different over the weekend, because over the weekend it was Facty, Sylvanic, Serial, and Complexion. So we see 2 of the 4 coming back, but its name and Flurriously were actually with the status quo boys over this weekend, and now they're joining up with Facty and Sylvanic. So already some roster changes even from one day to the other, and it might be some of it just availability requiring some of those changes to come through. But we love to see Levitation pulling that team together in whichever way, shape, or form it's happened. They're down only 10 points in this round, and at this point of the round, I might start looking at the clock as well.
Yeah, we have not seen very much oddball time in recent memory. Almost a minute passing, it feels like, without anyone touching the oddball. This one's starting to look more and more like a matchmaking match as that oddball continues to sit at the reset. And with 90 seconds on the game clock, Magic, the next team to grab this oddball, get 4 down, and get a hold could very well win this first round.
Watching to see what Tapping Buttons can do with that shock rifle. And it paid off. The perfect headshot coming through. Now Tapping Buttons trying to lock onto its name. The VR shots are going to be enough to go down for Levitation. Native White now with a decent hold, but not the full round of slays. And then off of the grapple, a little whiplash play. Levitation now are leading the way. Facty is trapped at the back of pipes. Native White are closing in. Looks like Facty does have the help though, Flurriously. A little bit of a handoff there, and Levitation hold on to control.
An opportunity there though to bait and switch on Barcode and make sure that he goes down without taking Flurriously with him. That's a win condition there for Barcode because he was in that 1v2 situation, because his team is up 2-1 nearly on the scoreboard. Camo up in 25 seconds. Sylvanic looking to do his best to make sure his team secures that, but it's going to be very difficult as he's the last player alive. Once again, Camo and Oddball looking likely here for Native White.
It was Barcode that picked up that shock rifle that Tapping Buttons left behind, but it's Flurriously picking up the Oddball and sneaking away. Native White, they all rotated back up pipes instead of towards long haul.
This is what I was talking about. We saw SSG do this earlier in the tournament. Ultimately 3 going down for Levitation, but a good job there sneaking away with some milk. But is it gonna be enough? Is there enough time left on this clock? No. With all 4 going down for Levitation, once again, Tapping Buttons could rotate this Oddball all the way to the back of C and call it a day.
Yo, shout out to the Observer. Switches viewpoints just to see Gilkey absolutely laser Flurriously across the map. Great shock rifle play there as time indeed does tick down. That's first round, so we're not looking at an upset potential just yet, but we did see some good plays from Levitation even early on in this game.
Yeah, this one was deadlocked in round 1 all the way until the final 90 seconds or so, when Native White was able to secure 2, maybe 3 of those team wipes. As they're looking for another one here. Name last player alive, but he's not going to want to peek Gilkey and company, as he's now got that camo to work with. Name going down, and that's going to be a delayed enough of a death where this is going to cause potentially a stagger for Native White to take advantage of.
Gilkey seems to be deciding between the shock rifle and the objective, so he tosses the Oddball up into the waiting arms of a teammate, and now he's going to double back to grab that shock rifle, really using all of that camo to position himself for the next fight. Add on to that 3 repulsors, and there's the perfect. We saw Gilkey end the last round with a shock rifle perfect, and he opens up round 2 with another of the same.
Gilkey, the OG from Queens, doing his state proud with that shock rifle, and a great performance here in winners round 3, looking to take the next step and evenly match 2 teams here. 14 versus the 19 seed. Gilkey with damn near 19 headshots. It feels like 3 there. 19 total. We might as well just call it for the game. Gilkey is on fire.
Gilkey, that's the beautiful shock rifle mastery, and I have to say the shock rifle perfect headshots are some of the most satisfying plays in all of this game. Still more ammo to work with as he sends its name back with that repulsor usage. They're past the halfway mark, and its name does contest around the corner, finally shutting down Gilkey, but the damage has been done.
Here we go. Starting to see Native White put it together in this game, but just like that, it's Levitation with a 3 down of their own and a chance here to set up at C. Gotta keep that Oddball alive, but instead, Name's just gonna go for the play ball. I like that play in the sense that it was the smart play, but down 50 here. Levitation's gonna need much more than that.
Levitation needs more than those 3 measly seconds of objective time, but Gilkey, coming off of that crazy round of slays, finds himself with the camo yet again. Flurriously up at the glass, nearly in the line of sight, but right now Gilkey's happy to take the information and the back of Facty.
Name, last player alive, and the objective player for this Levitation squad over the weekend, averaging more ball time than all of his teammates. And they have a winning record when he has more than 50 seconds. We can see the majority of the Oddball time again going in Name's favor, but he's only halfway to that 50-second threshold that Levitation needs to win this game. And if they're not careful, it could end very soon as Native White look to put the finishing touches on here at Gold.
Well, its name is not going to go down without a fight, being that objective player, but also taking on the role of Slayer for the team. And 3 go down for Native White. Its name rotating the ball back because he has the shock rifle. He doesn't have time to hold on to the skull when he could be hitting heads instead. He finds one, he takes down tapping buttons. He's looking for another, and this is just the break that Levitation needed. But even as they had the oddball, they haven't locked down the defense yet. Facty gets traded out. Barcode is weak at needles. Its name forced to leave that high ground position in order to contest this pickup, but it's not gonna be enough. The BR takes him down.
Unfortunate. That was great positioning earlier from Name. He had 2 back of the head headshots, but then he got forced towards the mid map because of the score differential here. I think in another world with a closer game here, I think Name maintains that glass long haul positioning instead. Has to almost overextend like you would see in a CTF match with little time left. Plenty of time here on the clock, but 40 seconds separating these 2 teams, and we haven't seen Levitation put together enough. But here, they're starting to mount the comeback. They're starting to mount some points on the board, Magic. And with this rotation, if they could get it all the way to C, get a wipe on Native White, they could be right back in it.
And it looks like that rotation, the long haul, is exactly what they're looking for. Native White are pushing through Whirlpool and through pipes. Facty tosses the ball out and now doubling back instead of holding on to the objective, trying to get a round of slays to maintain that positioning. That oddball is just sitting there kind of alone and lonely at the top of glass. Facty, after all of that fight, has to double back, but he's last alive for Levitation. Barcode is going to find the kill, and that might just spell a GG's.
The chance was there for Levitation, but it's Native White shutting the doors on a chance for a comeback for now. 15 seconds needed for this Native White squad to put a nice game 1 together. And after the performance we saw over the weekend, this is exactly what Native White needed against a very scrappy and talented Levitation squad.
That might be it for game number 1, but we are in these best of 5, so what we didn't see from Levitation in game number 1 doesn't mean that's the end of their story just yet. Native White definitely living up to a little bit more of the expectations, and I just have to think, Mikowski, this team coming from all regions, all around the world, quite literally, now playing together, and are we seeing the fruits of that experience from playing Saturday and Sunday? Is that why we see them with a strong showing here today?
Yeah, I think one of the teams with the most to gain from these 4 days of Halo is this Native White roster because of the fact you mentioned, Magic. We're taking players from 3 different nationalities. We got NA, Australia, and Mexico being represented by this Native White squad. Obviously, all 4 of those players now moving to North America to compete here in this NA Open major qualifier. But you have to imagine there's some difficulties there. There might even be some language barriers. So I don't know, though. Halo, it's a love language, and passion can be felt regardless of what language specifics are being spoken. So maybe Mikwen, if there's anyone that could lead a team in this type of a situation, it's a guy like Mikwen. Such a good dude. Doesn't get too overheated. I don't think he's going to be the kind of guy that gets really frustrated and starts spewing venom, right? You don't want that from a captain, especially in a situation like this with three players from 3 different nationalities. So Native White, absolutely, Magic. I think we're starting to see them put it together, and if they can continue to put it together and almost use these days like scrimmages or practices to get their form ready for Charlotte, this could be very beneficial for them.
Definitely looked like their form was coming together in the game number 1 of the series. And I want to highlight just for a minute, as we are on Native White, Team International, tapping buttons coming out from Mexico. Now, day number 2 for Mexico, yesterday, they did have their seeding for the tournament coming up for the Mexico region tomorrow. Shout out to Coyotes for getting the win there. 6 Karma in 2nd place, and Cinta Negra in the 3rd place position there. We did a little bit of a recap on the ANZ region from yesterday. That region pretty much playing in the middle of the night for us in North America. And then on the EU side, Quadrant coming back, forcing the bracket reset to win over Navi. Very familiar to what we saw here in North America just last night. So a couple of names that you're going to need to look for in Charlotte and beyond.
Love the update there for Magic, and I love that delayed pop from tapping buttons with that overshield. I think we're going to see a lot more of that in Season 2. Holding on to that overshield until you know the location of an opponent. tapping buttons, executing that to perfection. It's a big reason why his team has the 4-kill lead.
I'm scared. You better toss the cast to me because we learned one thing yesterday. Killing sprees are not safe when Mikowski is on the mic. So Mikwen wants to keep this spree alive. I'm not saying I'm much better, but like the odds maybe are there. Watching Mikwen, 5 kills, 1 assist, sniper depleted from ammo, but still holding on to the top of tower, has the heat wave to work with, could use that in sniper-esque style as we saw the Sentinels doing in the previous matchup. Here comes the heat wave. There's a player just below him at the bottom of C tower. He's left scrambling. He's on the run. Look, it's Gilkey there now, rotating to top mid. Mikwen keeps on getting suppressed though. The damage coming through.
Native White fully prepared for this overshield rotation from Levitation. Just 2 go down for Native White, and an advantage there for Levitation, but no, it's tapping button, sneaking away with the overshield. Instantly gets depleted though. A great job babying that down by Levitation as they keep it a 4-kill game.
Gilkey has 2 targets in front of him, and oh no, I think we see a disconnect. Oh, unfortunate. You see Native White looking at the side of the map, and it was Barcode on the disconnect there. So I think we're gonna be sending this one back in just a minute. But right now, I don't know, the players are still rolling with it. They're still going.
I've seen teams before. Okay, there we go. We're gonna see the eventual exit, but yeah, unfortunate there. Barcode lagging out in a match that looked very competitive. I believe,
Yeah.
Magic, what do you think the spread was there when the lag? It was like 3? I think it was 3. So we're gonna wait official word. We're gonna wait on the official word here from the Faceit admins, but it looked like Native White should head into this reset with a 3-kill advantage as we now switch gears here and hop back on board with Sentinels. Another scrappy potential upset prime team here. You got the likes of Shock, Nesity, Cherished, Native. I believe this is the status quo roster.
It is, and I should know. Obviously, Nesity out here repping status quo, and then Native, Cherished, Shock as well coming on board for team status quo. Nesity, happy birthday. Just had his birthday, this young gun, turning 20. We talked about some of the up-and-coming players, you know, Kuhlect being a big name. I believe it was Cycle as well that Tools wanted to shout out. Got to put Nesity up there as well, but unfortunately right now, maybe a little bit unaware of where that camo rotation was coming. KingNick catches him off guard.
KingNick looking to maximize the value with that camo. Takes down Nesity, but unable to take down the rest of his teammates there. The status quo does a great job playing a little defense on that camo, but now they need to shift their attention towards that oddball as Sparty continues to milk here in the gold pipes area. Now goes down 2v2 situation. Classic Halo CE action here as it looks like Sentinel's going to get the better of status quo in that scenario. Because of it, we see LethuL rotating that oddball to C.
Sentinels was the first team we jumped on board with here today. They're coming out with something to prove. They showed it in the first series, but as we continue down this bracket, it gets more and more intense, although Cherished makes it look easy. The perfect kill at the back of C. Had the repulsor, but didn't even need to use it because the BR was enough. That might just be the break we need to see from status quo. Cherished staying alive at the back of C. He's gonna have some competition. You see him come through with the other kills, actually set up by Shock across the map. But Sentinels are finding a response. This is getting very scrappy as kills goes down either side. And unfortunately, it looks like primarily to the advantage of Sentinels.
Yeah, no opportunity there for status quo to get that ball off of C. A reset there would have been huge. Instead, it's Sentinels able to push that snowball further and further down the hill as they'll continue to score here. KingNick gonna need to grapple again if he wants to stay on the map. This is a move that we have never seen in the HCS, at least I haven't. Fantastic use of that grapple hook, representing and showing off some of that survivability from KingNick.
Love to see the use of the equipment. Part of what we love about Halo Infinite is how grapple, repulsor, you know, you talked about the drop wall a good bit yesterday as well. All of it comes into play and setting yourself up for success with the use of that equipment. And now KingNick, shock rifle. That's the full use of that shock rifle. All you gotta do is fight ahead. Stop making it look easy, KingNick. It's never that easy for me.
Sentinels, yeah, making it look easy right now. Shock, though, with a triple kill of his own. Will this turn the tide in their favor? Status quo needing a lot of it here. Down 79-1 here in game one, round one. And we've talked about it before. These game one oddballs can really milk out a lot of energy. The longest average game type in terms of minutes played, I think 15 minutes is the average of an oddball match. When it goes to round 3 or sudden death, it goes over 20 average.
Wow.
So we could be in for a long haul here. And here's where, if you're the higher seeded team, Sentinels, you want to make sure this is a quick game. You want to make sure you don't deplete all those resources. You want to make sure you don't deplete all of that, you know, Red Bull or G-Subs you got in your system on a match that doesn't need it.
Definitely might be a little bit more of an urgency coming from the side of Sentinels because they want to go the distance, not just with this series, but with today's tournament. We got a little bit of a picture-in-picture here, getting back into that game to Native White versus Levitation after the reset. I think we called it a 3 or 4 point advantage going to Native White before the crash happened.
It's the +3 advantage for Native White at the reset, but it's +3 for Levitation. Make it +4.
Wow.
As they now take the lead by 1, fully maximizing the value out of that heat wave and sending it back to the weapon rack.
We'll probably get an eye on that Sentinel status quo matchup again, as they are just in that game number 1, but we want to keep our attention here. The 14th seed versus the 19th seed. Can Levitation mount a comeback? That 4-point lead that you called out has been absolutely deleted, and with Gilkey, the double kill. Sorry, he got a kill. Its name gets him right back, but it's Mikwen with the overshield. That might spell trouble. Here he comes, rolling through. Oh no, anytime I call out the name, its name takes them down.
Wow, Mikwen there with overshield, but must have had barely an edge of glimmer of it, as he went down very quickly to name. Great play there, taking down the overshield, negating its effectiveness. Now it's Gilkey pushing up with that tried and true battle rifle. Sylvanic, the last player alive for Levitation. Can he rise above the rest and take down Gilkey here in this 1v1?
Gilkey has to be careful. He saw the green glimmer of Sylvanic's plasma pistol charged up, so he fell back to not contest, but he is getting shot from every possible angle. Gilkey taken down. Facty is challenging top mid. I think it's a fresh sniper that everybody is wanting to get their hands on. Bodies are flying. Its name now in position, but it's tapping buttons, and Mikwen the combined fire, and now it's Gilkey as well. Native White, their team fire right here has been what sets them apart and gives them this lead.
Native White looking like Popeye after he chugs a can of spinach, getting stronger and stronger and stronger throughout these series. And this is exactly what you wanted to see if you're a Native White fan after a very difficult Saturday, Sunday, coming out really strong here on Monday.
Barcode so aware of those respawns. The power of the spinach flowing through his veins. Eat your vegetables, kids. Right now, Native White, 10-point lead. What was once a tied game, and it doesn't look like they are going to stop. Levitation, they need to have an answer, and they need to find it quick. One break kill could do it, but Mikwen is denying that with another perfect. The backsmack does find him in the end. Maybe Levitation can build something, but every time they have a glimmer of hope, Gilkey is full shining with a full overshield, and he's chasing Ring Around the Rosie style. Down goes Facty, down goes Flurriously.
Gilkey with a huge play there, and I'm going to call for the early replay when this one finished. I believe Gilkey had the millisecond repulsor. Would have went down with that overshield plasma pistol, deflecting it out of the way, blocking it like the Kembe Mutombo. Unbelievable play there from Gilkey, and it's all Native White as they're up 11.
11-point lead on the side of Native White. The plasma pistol rapid fire instead of the full charge that we're so used to seeing. Gilkey with that commando, still at full strength. It hasn't gotten tweaked just yet, so take advantage of it while you can, and Gilkey does. We saw Gilkey with the commando time and time again in the Honda Fan Cup 1v1s, thinking of Aquarius in particular. It looks like his practice with this weapon is coming through in this match.
Yeah, this is good to see. As a fan of Gilkey, fan of all the OG Halo players, you love to see Gilkey bounce back after a tough couple weeks in that Honda Fan Cup 1v1, finishing right on the brink of the finals time after time, and then having a little bit of a disappointing day, or weekend, I should say, here in the HCS Open Qualifier. Coming back in the HCS Major Qualifier. Now looking quite strong with that repulsor commando combination, earning himself the double kill, and this one's over.
Gilkey ending the game at 12 and 5. Absolutely a beautiful stat line for Gilkey. What a solid team player he has become, and now a solid slayer in his own right as well. So we're going back to the Sentinel status quo. Looks like round one did indeed go to Sentinels, and right now they have a good chunk of time advantage, almost a 50-second lead in round number 2.
Yeah, and what an exciting round in the tournament this is. Winners round 3. We're starting to see the challenge crank up a little bit here for these top teams, but my goodness, the two worlds are about to collide here in round 4 as both Sentinels and Native White look to prevent the upsets that they faced and succumbed to yesterday. Looking like the regain, looking like the bounce back is on. Kuhlect pushing up with that plasma pistol. Nesity is now running away from 3 members of Sentinels with no shields and no hope. He should go down here shortly.
Oh, gotta shout out Nesity though. Most kills on team status quo and the most objective time, really doing everything to keep status quo in this game, but they need to win out this next round of slays. 2 go down for Sentinels. Here's the break. Spartan sends a player off the map, says goodbye to Shock, and then a double kill as well. Even though Sentinels were down in numbers, Sparty single-handedly evened out those odds.
Sparty, he said yesterday on Twitter that he had an uncharacteristic bad day of Halo today. Gonna rewrite that story. Looking strong here. As he looks to stay alive, camo up here. This is huge. Status quo's right there in it.
Yeah.
And with a nice little bait and switch there from Nesity, he now has camo and an opportunity here to come back.
Nesity, shock rifle and camo. Lines up a shot. The body shot will give him the advantage. Finishes off the kill with the BR. There's a player in pit. It looks like Shock cleaned him up. Spartan's rotating to bottom controller back to see if Nesity can find him. He gets some damage, but he has to turn around. He's getting fought for both sides. Great turnaround. The kill and the assist, and he still has a little bit of that camo left, just a few seconds. More importantly, plenty of ammo in the shock rifle, and Nesity is flying across this map.
Expecting glass spawns here. Long haul for Sentinels, yep. Long haul pushes on, but I only saw 1 member of Sentinels, and that's not enough when you have multiple members of status quo back here. But a misplay here as 2 go down. Sparty McFly doesn't care. Pushing in with that grapple hook, now has a shock rifle to work with as well. Shock in his sights, but he's gonna go for the smart play ball instead.
Kill.
Shock's gonna get the triple kill, but Sparty walks away with the better play.
Spartan with the grapple is Sparty McFly, living up to the full gamer tag on these plays, and with this level of movement, Shock's triple was enough to force the reset. But it seems like every fight is do or die for status quo, nearly a game-winning play or costing the game. Sentinels only need 34 seconds. You could get that in 1 hold. Nesity now gets a kill on the board, keeps the number advantage in the side of status quo. They're milking a few seconds on the clock, but Cherished is back in the B stairs. He's holding onto the oddball. He's trying to rotate long haul, and Sentinels on the chase. I don't know that they're gonna get there in time.
Sentinels needing 34 to win this round, but status quo only needing 14 to come back. This sequence could very well determine the final results as we're just over 1 minute to go. Camo at play. Which team is going to prioritize it here? And you got to make those decisions, those strategies. Do we play for camo? Do we play for the oddball? Which one comes first? Native playing for that camo, but it's all bait as 2 players for Sentinels on the C side, but Nesity picks him up and takes 2 down. It's 3 down total for Sentinels, and if status quo could find their way to the oddball, they can milk some time.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. For the Sentinels, the necessity is to take down Nesity, because if you let him get warmed up, he will be on fire. 22 kills to his name, but status quo still 14 seconds behind. Let's see what this young gun can do. He's been putting in the time. He's been grinding. He's been scrimming with plenty of pro players, a variety of rosters, to try to find the roster that's going to stick. Nesity coming through with yet another, still 14 seconds behind. You have to think that these opening kills give status quo a chance to get their hands in the oddball, but that oddball more like a hot potato. The second you touch it, you gotta throw it back down. Native is last alive, needs to stall for the respawners.
And we saw Sentinels there make up their mind. They're not touching that oddball. They're going to play Slayer out all the way to 000 as we're going to see just that. Sentinels, despite the last second push there, the desperation from status quo is not enough as Sentinels goes up 1-0.
Sentinels 1-0, and we're in game 3 also here of winners round 3. Native White versus Levitation. Native White, pretty strong wins in both games 1 and 2, and they're looking for the trifecta. They want the clean sweep, the 3-0. Barcode with a rocket at the ready. If any player from Levitation gets a little too frisky, he's ready to punish them with that rocket. He fires it off, but as we saw all day yesterday, rockets are not always enough.
And as we hop on board to this game in progress, important to note that it's a 1-0 lead here for Levitation. The road to a reverse sweep starts with that first hill, but you gotta double up. You gotta maximize it here. You gotta think Native White is very much up to the challenge and task to tie this one up here at 1, as they're just on the brink.
Levitation with that opening hill, so crucial to get them back in this series, but 1 is not going to be enough. Flurriously in a fight versus Tapping Buttons is taken down. Tapping Buttons, excuse me, not able to recharge his shield, but he does have what you might call the power weapon combo.
Hey, I'm claiming that one. We called it early in Saturday's tournament. Just noticing rockets weren't really that effective. And really, when I think about it more and more, Magic, the reason I take the red gun and the shotgun over rockets is because of the count, the ammo count. You just have more time. You have more space to make plays with this combination. Rockets really only affords you 1 or 2 chances to maybe get 1 or 2 kills. Here with the max value from a shotgun and a stalker, you could see a killing frenzy. So going to be very curious to see what these teams in total across the entirety of the HCS start to prioritize here, as we have a brand new season and a brand new meta.
I have to credit you with that call. I called it a hot take, I think, when you first mentioned it, but it seemed to reign true time and time again. I'm learning my lesson. Just trust what Mikowski says, Magic. It's not that hard. Tapping Buttons is also showing, proving your point with the stalker rifle shots, gets a takedown. Facty down to 1 shot. The double kill potential is there, but Sylvanic gets the 2 for 1 with the use of that plasma grenade.
Sentinels doing a great job to answer back, tie this one up at 1, but now it's Levitation answering back with a hold of their own, and this one's pretty difficult to break here. That's why you're seeing a little bit of that patience from Gilkey, making sure that he has the team support, but instead it's Facty pressing the emphasis on Gilkey, not allowing the time and space for his team to push up. Finally, we see Tapping Buttons make his way through the cafe, and the timing is not going to hurt Native White, as all 4 eventually go down for Levitation, and they're going to have to re-rack from the C-spawn.
Well, Tapping Buttons, credit for 3 kills on that push, but as he trades out on that final kill, it wasn't enough. The rest of his team was being picked off 1 by 1. But Gilkey getting some good time on the hill because of that opening opportunity, and now we're seeing that answer back. Good milk on the hill. Native White, gotta give credit to Tapping Buttons there, but Levitation are breaking the hold.
Flurriously with a massive Sentinel beam takedown on Tapping Buttons. That looked like the anchor point for Native White to push through here. Instead, it's full control here for Levitation, and a tie hill scenario here. This sequence, whoever wins this sequence, whoever has numbers is going to win the hill, and it's looking more and more like Levitation. Can Gilkey make a last-second play with no shields? He takes down his opponent. Now he has to make the decision. Does he want to push up or save his life? He ends up going down, and that hill goes to Levitation instead.
Wow, I thought that Native White had that one in the bag. They had the Bulldog. They had the hill time. But Levitation stealing it away. You've seen a little bit more of that urgency from Levitation. This is their last chance to get back in the series. Here comes Barcode, though, crashing down on any hopes or dreams that Levitation were starting to realize, and now rotating back away. You only need to have 1 person to get some time on the hill. The rest are free to look for those respawners.
Barcode, a young Lucid in the making, and I know that's high praise, but believe me, that's one reason why Mikwen, the player GM essentially for Native White, chose him. I believe one of the first players he chose to duo up with. When I heard rumors of what these teams were looking like, I know Barcode was Mikwen's top pick. Instead, it's all 4 going down for Native White. Levitation, time after time, these last 2 hills, we've seen it be all Native White up to the 80% mark, but then it's Levitation coming right back.
Yo, shout out to Facty, the slain leader in the game thus far. 16 kills to his name, make it 17 off of the trade. You'll take that trade as long as you still have a player in the hill. It's Sylvanic trying to hold on, but Native White again on the push. Takedown kill after kill, and its name is too far away to clean up any kills on the hillside. Its name trying to fight back out of the corner, but he re-engages at exactly the wrong second. That game-tying hill is going over to Native White.
And the wrong timing. Looks like the right choice for Native White as they do in fact tie this one back up at 2. Over 2.5 minutes to go, Magic. So this one is not going to be one of those games where you have to prioritize the clock. Do we play Team Slayer? Do we play for the hill? This one's going to be all hill time here for both these two teams as it's all 4 down again for Levitation.
Seems like wave after wave of team wipes are coming through, and the Rockets getting ready to spawn as well, right where that hill is positioned, in the middle of the map. Native White getting the Rockets in hand. It's tapping Button's hands at that. Great pickup from the Observer, and he finds 3 targets in front of him. He only connects with 1 kill. He has to burn the second rocket, but he did force Levitation back to the cafe side. Flurriously only now being able to re-engage.
And this hill is such a difficult one to maintain and establish control on. Everybody out in the open. You're really gonna have to win some pips from that hill location.
Okay.
Instead, it's Facty in the front of C with the triple kill, earning his team more time on the clock here as Native White go 3 down.
He heard you say win some pivs, and he's like, yeah, I got you, Mikowski. Here you go. How about a nice little triple kill to get the time advantage on this all-important, possibly game-winning hill. Because of how much time it's going to take either side to capture this hill, it could determine, I think even likely determine, the outcome of this game. Sylvanic and its name each putting a kill up on the board. Gilkey wants to peek, wants to contest, but he's going to find multiple targets to answer him back. Honestly though, Gilk peeking out that middle lane, he's stalling because Levitation had numbers on the board, but not a pinky toe on the hill.
And despite this 2-0 lead in this series for Native White, this one is looking deadlocked here in game 3. The score is tied. Every single one of these hills has been tied at some point, as something's got to give. Sylvanic looking to give his best as he goes down to tapping buttons. That's the opening break kill here for Native White. As the green light is on, 2 going down for Levitation. Numbers advantage here for Native White. If they can take advantage of it here, they could give themselves the late edge on this potentially game-winning hill.
Watching the fights break down, neither team having full control of the map or sandbox. Facty does have the Bulldog, but the spike grenades and the combined fire from Native White are gonna drop that weapon to the ground. There's rockets in play as well. I must have missed the memo on those, but they're burned. It looks like Gilkey might have been the player there with rockets. Uses those 2 rockets, switches over to the Bulldog left on the ground, and Native White just seconds away from this potentially game-winning hill. They cap it, and only with that Master Chief 117 left of time, Levitation are gonna need to call upon the skills of Master Chief himself.
Huge plays there from Native White in a 2-2 game, and we got to go back to the 1-1 game where it looked like Native White was primed to go up 2-1. Instead, they faltered and gave that hill up to Levitation, this time holding strong to that lead, holding strong to that hill as they're continuing to go for more magic. They're not going to let this one go to time. They're going to look to put 4 on the board.
Not milking for time, but wanting to get that 4th capture, but Levitation have a foothold on the hill now. Sylvanic trying to rotate out to clear space and to get map control. Mikwen on this very important heaven side position has a little bit of high ground, scoping out over the zone, and here comes Barcode getting up close and personal with the use of that Bulldog and that combined effort. Mikwen with the high ground, softening up players for Barcode's Bulldog to then clean up, seemed like the deadly duo.
And the hunch we had looks correct as Native White, all 4 dead for Levitation at one point, still maintaining that hill control. And with a minute to go, we see a lot of teams with 3 or 4 dead just get out of the hill. So it looks clear to me what the strategy is here for Native White. They're going for the win. They're going for that 4th hill. Barcode going for a player with that shotgun from long range. Lands the shot, but it's only an assist. But it's all the same as Gilkey and Native White bounce back from a really tough weekend here to earn the 3-0 sweep against Levitation.
and I got a glimpse of the stats. There were some great slays, but it was assists that really set Native White apart. The team play starting to come through for this roster, something you love to see after maybe not the performance they were hoping for over the weekend. Seems like things are coming together, but we're switching back over to the parallel series, Sentinels versus Status Quo. Sentinels took that oddball game one, not a surprise there, but there were definitely glimmers of hope on the side of Status Quo. Now in game two, down 11 at the halfway point.
Ooh, magic, and the plot thickens here in this HCS Charlotte major qualifier as the winner of this series will go on to face TSS. TSS placing 7th, 8th over the weekend. Sentinels with a top 12 finish. And if Sentinels goes up against TSS, that's one of those matches that you got to look out for. But right now, it's Sparty in the snipe tower that you got to look out for if you're Status Quo as he's peeling wigs.
Did you say peeling wigs?
Yep.
Peeling the wigs off of Status Quo. That's what they get for even wearing wigs to a Halo tournament. They're out of touch with that. Spartan finds the back as well of Cherished, gets the melee. Nesity finally flushes him out of that tower position. Not much left in that sniper to work with, and Kuhlect the remaining seconds of the overshield are just going to eat up that damage that Nesity was putting out. He has that last snipe shot to work with. Doesn't connect. Still looking at a 13-point lead, and now Kuhlect is going to rotate out of that tower. No sniper, no reason to hold that high ground.
Yeah, Kuhlect, one of those other young guns in the scene. I'd say it's 1-2, 1A, 1B between Karmea and Kuhlect. Two of the brightest stars, two of the most up-and-coming talents that we have in this scene. As we hop back on board here with the OG. Many would say the GOAT. Ogre 2's my GOAT, but LethuL, number 2 on many people's list. Number 1 as well as he goes down eventually. Shock here. Looking to make a comeback, and it's a deep, deep one at that as they're down 24-41. Sentinels all but putting this one away.
I thought Walshy was the GOAT.
He's the GOAT in my heart, but Ogre 2 is the GOAT in my head.
Okay. You got multiple. That's fair. Greatest of all time in your heart, greatest of all time in your head. Sentinels 8 points away from taking this game. Barring a miracle, it looks like game 2 is going to be in their name. Status Quo trying to build something, if not for this match, for a last-second comeback potential in game 3. LethuL spinning and showcasing some of that skill. 14-9 for LethuL. And Sentinels are full sending, even full sending into a self-destruction.
I think we saw a little bit of the repulsor work there on Sparty. I'm sure he's even questioning what the hell went wrong there, but
we'll probably see it on Twitter.
Probably see at least, if not the clip, at least a tweet about it from the hot takes we're used to seeing from Sparty on the timeline. Looking really strong here, looking really hot as a team, as a unit. Sentinels alongside Native White, the two teams that were looking to bounce back from the weekend. Both of these two teams doing just that. 3-0 for Native White. And it's looking like a potential 3-0 here for Sentinels as well as they secure the Stagtacular and move on to game 3.
No, I absolutely respect Kuhlect and shouting him out as one of the up-and-coming players to watch out for, one of those young guns. But I am going to say Nesity's name one more time at least. He comes out even in that game, and I know that might not look like much, but when you're matching slay for slay against a team like Sentinels, I believe you deserve full credit for that. So shout out to Nesity one more time. Of course, I'm a fan. They'll be heading into game number 3, where Status Quo have one more chance to get back into the series. Are you seeing, Mikowski, what you hope to see from Sentinels? We talked about them very briefly in the pregame. They were the first team on the show today. Do they look like they're back?
I'm leaning into a yes, but I'm not going to give them that yes until they get to that winners 4 matchup. Facing a TSS squad that placed top 8 yesterday will absolutely answer that question for Sentinels. Right now, though, I'm leaning towards a yes. The results of this series will give them an opportunity to take on TSS in a matchup that they have to win, because we talked about this earlier. If TSS gets 7th, 8th, they're going to qualify based on those total points. Sentinels, though, facing a 9th, 12th finish yesterday, they've got to place top 6 here in this tournament. You've got to take down TSS in this next series. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but Sentinels, Native White, all these teams here, so much on the line and so much to be determined here throughout the day.
I couldn't agree with you more. What we're seeing from Sentinels right now makes it look like they are on track to meet expectations, but haven't stood the test just yet. Potentially in the next matchup against that TSS roster that came out with that 7th, 8th placement, that could be the real test for Sentinels to break through and start to show us why they deserve a pool play position at Charlotte. But the fight's not over yet. Status Quo, one more chance to get back in the action, and we're here on Streets. We got the King of the Hill, and off the rip, Native, seemingly predicting perfectly with a couple of frags, gets a kill up on the board, and we're seeing 3 go down for Status Quo and 3 on the side of Sentinels as well. Neither team is really going to get a chunk of time here, but watch out. LethuL, one more rocket at the ready. He picks a target. He gets Native weak. Native thrusts out of some of the blast radius, does go down in the process.
And it's been a really sloppy start here for both of these two teams. Nobody really coming away with any advantage. We saw LethuL with the rockets, but he wasn't able to maximize that as he goes down. And Status Quo starting the scoring here on this ever important B hill, and a huge trade there from Native, keeping this one even in numbers. If Status Quo can stay alive here, they should be able to maintain a little bit more control, but no, just to say that 3 going down, Sentinels should regain the lead.
And Shock, needing to preserve his life at the bottom of the B stairs, is gonna wisely back away. No, don't push into a 1v2. And look at this split though. Status Quo are taking a 2-2 formation. Nesity and Native, they're at the bottom of Subway. It looks like pushing B stairs. Meanwhile, the other 2 players from Status Quo were trying to rotate around through back of A, but Sparty's having none of that. The Bulldog is barking, but he meets the BR of Shock, ends up as a trade of kills. This is very familiar to what we saw at the beginning of the game. Some messy fights on both sides. Sentinels have 2 more players though. Status Quo have not fully cleared out this hill.
Yeah, slight edge starting to develop here for Sentinels in the Slays department. Just like that, Status Quo answering back with 2 down for Sentinels. Cherished gonna have to make the play here on tires and does a great job positioning, taking the attention away. Kuhlect goes down because of it. Well, Sparty as well, yes! Cherished with the use of that thrust here has stopped the scoring and the bleeding for Status Quo.
Taking out KingNick so huge. KingNick leading the stats across the board. 6 and 3 was also a big reason why the Sentinels had such a chunk of time on this first hill. Status Quo, they need to mount not just an offense, but they need to have a defensive line. And even though they seem to have cleared the zone, they're not standing on it. They're not climbing that scoreboard. Kuhlect is just steps away, commando in hand, suppressive fire towards PD in case anyone tries to contest there. And Status Quo are kind of giving him space to hold on this hill. It looks like they're setting up for hill number 2, maybe a little preemptively.
Delayed push on the hill. Looked like they were a little bit in between decisions because we did see that late push up the B stairs by Status Quo instead of all forming and all sending to C. Because of that, KingNick has an opportunity to take down 2 with that red rifle. He does just that. The double kill for Sentinels and potentially the second hill as well.
The Stalker rifle going to work in the hands of KingNick, extending his KD, now looking at 10 and 3. He finds 2 shots onto Native. He finds the BR headshot. Nesity is the next challenger to arrive, but every time Status Quo rounds that corner, they're finding the perfectly timed team fire from the Sentinels.
Lots of staggered deaths here for Status Quo. You can see it just based on when those players respawn in the feed. It's never a collective together. You don't necessarily ever see 2 going down together or even all 4 going down together. It's usually 2 at a time, then the 3rd, then the 4th. And they need to pull it together here against a really strong looking Sentinels roster as they put their second hill on the board and might have rockets to boot.
Oh no, Spartan does not land that final shot onto Shock. Commando, not quite the consistency he was looking for there. Rocket still up for grab. Kuhlect rounds the corner, finds a kill, finds an assist, creating mayhem and a distraction for KingNick now to find the rockets, as if KingNick needed a power weapon in his hands right now.
1 tick of health left for KingNick and 1 rocket left in that chamber. Looking to put it to good use. Flanking out the side of Cafe. I believe he has the rest of his team pushing up on B, but it's Kuhlect when he goes down. Sparty's trying to fill in for him, but Cherished has it figured out. 2 going down for Sentinels. Numbers here for Status Quo. And again, an opportunity to put together 3, 4, all down for Sentinels. So Status Quo answering back and should regain the lead here on this third hill.
Oh, let's go, Status Quo. Fear the Quo. They need to get a hill up on the board. If they're going down 3-0 in this series, it's not going to be without fighting for this game. One hill would certainly be a morale booster for them. Cherished milks some time, but as his teammates are dropped, he decides to preserve his life. He hops off the hill for a minute, watches for the respawns, but Sentinels kind of regrouping. Being a little bit patient on this push. It looks like they're coming through tires. Cherished shuts that down. Shock shuts down a kill on Cafe side as well. Status Quo holding on by the skin of their teeth, but Cherished in the end is the last alive, needing to wait for backup again, but he has to deal with Kuhlect. It's enough for an assist, which honestly, as the last player alive, that's all you can expect Cherished to come out with.
And on the other side, TSS, as we mentioned earlier, waiting for the winner of this match. But TSS 3-0ing Venom, and TSS now waiting for the continuation or the finalization of this series. So Sentinels is going to want to put the finishing touches here on this one, but just like that, Status Quo looking dominant here on this third hill. 95%, make it 100, as they're now down only 1.
I'm telling you, it's such a morale boost to see that first point across the scoreboard. You're not going down 3-0, you're getting back within reach of this game. But Sparty, trying to keep this game out of the reach of Status Quo, has 2 rockets, doesn't even need to use one for that kill. He finds Nesity off the respawn, takes him down, makes it look easy. He might find Shock as well if he pushes towards B.
And this is where you expect those top teams to answer back. When the underdog makes you bleed a little bit, you expect to see a strong response. The response that we're seeing right here from Sentinels, not letting a single second go to Status Quo. 75% on the board. Sentinels, the 2v1 bait and switch there. Sparty didn't even need to continue shooting. Great teamwork there from Sentinels. It's another 3 down and potentially a third hill here for Sentinels.
Native with a huge double kill, make it a triple kill. The first 2 with a grenade, the third with the BR, and Cherished filling in right behind where Native left off. There's 3 players from Sentinels on this A side. Spartan and LethuL at the back of A, and Kuhlect rotating to tires. Could get some dangerous crossfire coming. Native is rotating around right behind them though. Finds himself between a rock and a hard place. It's KingNick credited with that kill. Cherished though, really popping off right at the perfect time.
And it's KingNick with a little bit of a role reversal. We saw Kuhlect leading the way in slays for his team. Instead, it's KingNick with that 2.0 kill to death ratio, leading his squad here in this King of the Hill. But just as we saw the 75% unanswered for Sentinels, it's about 50-60% for Status Quo, but that double kill here, huge from LethuL. If he can land the triple as well, should equal a score here for Sentinels. He's not going to get that, but instead his teammates clean it up and clean up that third hill. In fact, it's now 3-1.
3-1, and that might just be a crushing loss of a hill for Status Quo. They were so close on that 4th hill that would have tied up the game, and now Spartan continuing to crush the hopes and dreams with the rockets firing. 17 and 12 plus assists, and I have to bring it back to that assist column because Sentinels are leading the way yet again. Their team fire seeming on track. Spartan with the red gun in hand. He did some work with the rockets. Let's see what he can do with this secondary power weapon.
We've seen so many plays made this weekend with that red gun. Shock seemingly not able to jump up the trash. Instead, he's going to almost frustratingly sit back down and then go down to the grenade. An unfortunate sequence there for Shock because he just could not find the clamber.
Definitely can be some frustration when the movement you're looking for doesn't quite connect the way you're hoping. Spartan does have thruster left at his disposal. And this is where I see Sentinels are playing the clock. I don't think they're trying to get the 4th capture. Knowing that it's the hill out in the middle, they look like they're playing a round of denial. Spartan sitting all the way back in subway, softening up players from Status Quo and allowing teammates to push up aggressively. He caught some whiff, some call out of Shock, and Shock trying to find cover is not gonna get it. Now Spartan finally getting flushed out, but not before the damage is done. Look at how much time we have. Not enough. Status quo only 24 seconds, and with it being the middle hill, the hardest to defend on this map.
Yeah, Sentinels has made it very clear what their strategy is here. They're not even going to step in that hill. They're not even going to step in it to grab rockets, maybe even, as all they want to do is milk out that time, milk out the clock, milk out the final life of each of these 4 members of Status Quo, as Sentinels looks to put the finishing touches on this series. They have a doozy waiting for them in TSS, one of those up-and-coming teams, a team ripe for the upset. As Status Quo, scrappily, putting some fight back here with these final 4 seconds, but like you said, Magic, there's just not enough time left, regardless of how perfect the Halo is that they play.
Well, it looks like Sentinels are about to continue with their strength when it comes down to strongholds, although a brief hold here as Native, unfortunately, flushed off the hill. That win is gonna come through. Love to see the scrappy plays there at the end of the game from Status Quo, not giving over until they needed to. But Sentinels very strong in King of the Hill from this weekend, going 3-1, and now add on to that today, looking to be something that they can really hang their hat on. Maybe they can pin King of the Hill at the top of their list.
Saturday, Sunday, an appetizer for today. Feels like these first couple series, an appetizer for the intense series that are nigh upon us. We are minutes, moments away from starting to see these top teams compete against each other here, as Sentinels and Native White avoiding upsets through the first 3 rounds. But Magic, Sentinels, I believe Native White both losing in round 4 of the winner's side. Will they prevail today? They need to if they want to land that pool play spot in Charlotte.
The pool play spot is what is on the line here today. The top 6 is the break point that we're looking for. Who are going to take those top 6? And then for everybody else, scrapping and clawing for placement points to hopefully secure spots 7 and 8. We're going to continue finding out who those top teams are going to be right after this break.